blindcommunitythriftstore.com. Please stay tuned as our broadcast will start soon. Please remember to like, comment, and subscribe on our YouTube channel now. At Blind Community Thrift Store on YouTube, and more info about this radio reading service, Navalins, and the Blind Community Thrift Store at www.blindcommunitythriftstore.com. The Blind Community Thrift Store radio reading service will begin shortly. We will be reading local news from around the Southwest Missouri area, Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. on YouTube, KSMU, and on the Audio Reader Network at Kansas University. For more information, please visit us at www.blindcommunitythriftstore.com. Please stay tuned as our broadcast will start soon. Please remember to like, comment, and subscribe on our YouTube channel now. At Blind Community Thrift Store on YouTube, and more info about this radio reading service, Navalins, and the Blind Community Thrift Store at www.blindcommunitythriftstore.com. The Blind Community Thrift Store radio reading service will begin shortly. We will be reading local news from around the Southwest Missouri area, Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. on YouTube, KSMU, and on the Audio Reader Network at Kansas University. For more information, please visit us at www.blindcommunitythriftstore.com. Please stay tuned as our broadcast will start soon. Please remember to like, comment, and subscribe on our YouTube channel now. At Blind Community Thrift Store on YouTube, and more info about this radio reading service, Navalins, and the Blind Community Thrift Store at www.blindcommunitythriftstore.com. The Blind Community Thrift Store radio reading service will begin shortly. We will be reading local news from around the Southwest Missouri area, Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. on YouTube, KSMU, and on the Audio Reader Network at Kansas University. For more information, please visit us at www.blindcommunitythriftstore.com. Please stay tuned as our broadcast will start soon. Please remember to like, comment, and subscribe on our YouTube channel now. At Blind Community Thrift Store on YouTube, and more info about this radio reading service, Navalins, and the Blind Community Thrift Store at www.blindcommunitythriftstore.com. The Blind Community Thrift Store radio reading service will begin shortly. We will be reading local news from around the Southwest Missouri area, Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. on YouTube, KSMU, and on the Audio Reader Network at Kansas University. For more information, please visit us at www.blindcommunitythriftstore.com. Please stay tuned as our broadcast will start soon. Please remember to like, comment, and subscribe on our YouTube channel now. At Blind Community Thrift Store on YouTube, and more info about this radio reading service, Navalins, and the Blind Community Thrift Store at www.blindcommunitythriftstore.com. The Blind Community Thrift Store radio.
I haven't made it to the new Target yet. I don't know why.
Me neither.
But I don't shop the regular super center either because neighborhood markets fill in the bill. So
I shop Walmart a lot. Alright. Time for me to shut up.
And a good morning. Thank you for tuning into the Blind Community Thrift Store radio reading service. My name is Dory. I'm here with Sarah, and we invite you to listen to our broadcasts both live and on demand. Our live sessions are available on the Blind Community Thrift Store YouTube channel Monday through Friday between 10 a.m. and noon each week. Additionally, access on-demand content through the Audio Reader Network, which offers a wide range of audio materials for the visually impaired community. To explore content from the Audio Reader Network, please visit www.reader.ku.edu. The site provides details about accessing content via Amazon Alexa, Audio Reader Network mobile app, and information on receiving a radio to listen to the broadcast by KSMU Radio. All broadcasts are played over KSMU subcarrier airwaves at 67 kilohertz on 91.1 from 3 to 5 p.m. Monday through Friday. Contact Audio Reader Network for information on receiving a pre-programmed radio. And we'll start off with from article from the Springfield News Leader, elections. Missouri's election has 4 amendments on the ballots. What do they do? And we see a picture of an absentee ballot, and of course the deadline is nearing, as we'll hear in the article. Early voting in Missouri's primary election has begun. Residents are already hitting the polls in droves. Voters will be deciding on 4 constitutional amendments in this year's primary. 3 additional amendments have been approved for ballots in the November general election. And here's a guide to the amendments appearing on Missouri's primary ballots. Well, first off, the byline reads, when is the 2026 Missouri primary election? The primary election will take place August 4th, 2026. Early voting, as known as no excuse absentee voting, began July 21st and is running through August 3rd. The first byline reads, Amendment number 1. Renews Missouri's Parks, Soil, and Water Tax. Amendment 1 asks voters whether to renew the Parks, Soil, and Water Tax for another 10 years. The statewide 0.001% sales tax that Missouri voters first approved more than 40 years ago helps keep admission to state parks free and funds soil and water conservation programs. The amendment, if approved, will not create a new tax and or increase the current tax. A yes vote would renew the tax for another 10 years. A no vote would end the renewal. Amendment 1 ballot language, shall Missouri continue for 10 years the 0.1% sales tax that is used for soil and water conservation and for state parks and historic sites, and resubmit this tax to the voters for approval in 10 years. The measure allows continued collection of the existing sales and use tax, which generates revenue of approximately $140 million annually. Next byline, Amendment 2 would require Missouri counties to elect assessors. Amendment 2 asks voters whether to change Missouri's constitution to require all charter counties to elect their county assessors rather than through appointments. A county assessor is primarily responsible for determining fair market property values within their jurisdiction. The state's constitution already mandates the counties elect their county assessors except for Jackson County, which instead allows its assessors to be appointed. Jackson County voters overwhelmingly approved legislation in 2025 to amend the county charter to make the county assessor an elected office. A yes vote would amend Missouri's constitution to require all charter counties to elect their county assessor, thus ending the exception for Jackson County. It also requires assessors to comply with any training requirements established by state law. A no vote would leave the state's constitution as is. Amendment 2 ballot language, shall the Missouri Constitution be amended to state and local government entities estimate no costs or savings. Amendment 4 could change Missouri voting process for future amendments. Amendment 4 asks voters whether to change Missouri's constitution to require that any constitutional amendments not proposed by the legislature have both a statewide majority and a majority approval in all 8 congressional districts to pass. Missouri's current initiative petition process allows citizens to get proposed constitutional amendments on the ballot for a statewide vote if they collect a certain number of signatures from voters across the state. Once those signatures are certified, the proposed amendments would then go before voters, requiring only a simple majority to pass. Amendment 4 would change the process to require not only a statewide majority, but also a majority at each congressional district. It also requires that the full text of proposed amendments be made available on ballots. These changes would not apply to proposed amendments by the state legislature, which would still only need a simple majority to pass. A yes vote would amend the Missouri Constitution to include the new requirements. A no vote would keep the current voting process for initiative petition voting process as it is. And Amendment 4 ballot language, shall the Missouri Constitution be amended to the Department of Corrections estimates increased annual costs of up to a little over $21,000. The Office of State Public Defender estimates a known fiscal impact. Other state governmental entities estimate no cost or savings. Local governmental entities estimate no cost or savings. Missouri Amendment 5 would overhaul state tax system. Amendment 5 asks voters whether Missouri should gradually phase out the individual income tax and allow the legislature to modify sales and use taxes to replace that revenue. It also requires municipalities to reduce personal property and other local taxes when local revenues grow, while still maintaining local funding for public schools and other purposes. The amendment does not specify exactly how the state will make up the lost income tax revenue once it's eliminated. It would also make the elimination permanent, meaning another public vote on a new amendment would be required to reinstate the income tax. A yes vote would gradually reduce and ultimately eliminate the individual income tax and allow for changes in the state's tax system. A no vote would maintain the current income tax system and reject the other changes proposed in the amendment. Amendment 5 ballot language, shall the Missouri Constitution be amended to The proposal has no direct impact on state or local tax revenue. If passed, implementing legislation will have an unknown impact to state and local tax revenue. If implemented, state government entities expect a reduction of $57,000 annually in income tax checkoff donations and implementation costs of at least $100,000.
And from the Springfield Daily Citizen, Rumble returns. Members from all of Springfield's Scottish Drum Bugle Corps reunite for show. Along Parkview's Lassies and Central's Kilties, alumni from now disbanded corps at Glendale, Hillcrest, and Kickapoo will parade again. And there's a picture that shows alumni and current Parkview students gathered inside the gymnasium practicing their reunion routine. Though Tabitha Root carried the biggest drum, she had the most energy. Between practice runs of a cadence, Root danced, high-stepped, and waved her mallets with infectious energy. The class of 2003 graduate was one of more than a dozen former members of the Glendale High School Scotties, a Scottish drum and bugle corps. On Monday, July 27th, they met at Parkview High School for their first rehearsal in preparation for the upcoming Friday performance. It marked the first time Root had strapped on a bass drum since her senior year. "It's fun and a little nerve-wracking," Root said. "I like being active, and these are all my friends." The former Scotties will perform alongside the former members of Hillcrest Highlanders and Kickapoo's Bonnies, two other similar corps that disbanded. The program will be held at 6 p.m. Friday, July 31st at Parkview High School. The performances are their first of their kind addition to an annual tradition where the school district's drum corps perform for each other before the school year begins. Over the last few years, that show has featured only the Parkview's Lassies and Central's Kilties. This year, the show will feature those two current corps and performances from alumni groups of each corps. And there is also a picture of Glendale alumni Scotty, Tabitha Root, talking about the blocking plans with her fellow Scotties during an alumni practice. In addition, memorabilia from all 5 corps will be displayed, and the current lineups for the Kilties and the Lassies will perform together. Joni Stant, a former member and current sponsor of the Lassies, said the event was to celebrate a tradition that has largely unchanged over the years, even though some schools no longer have their corps. "This is a dream come true," Stant said. "That's what we wanted for them, because their corps don't exist. It's so important to not lose the history and heritage of them. I feel like it gets lost sometimes." "No matter what year, you have the same experiences, you have the same togetherness," Stant said. "You can't do it without everybody." Central's Kilties are celebrating its 101st year of continuous operation. The corps held several special performances last school year and is in high demand for parades and other appearances. Not only is it Springfield's first Scottish drum and bugle corps, but also the nation's. And there's a picture that shows recent Lassie president Violet Murray Smith and alumni volunteer Phyllis Templeton Chapman embracing after a successful drumline routine practice. Parkview's Lassies are also celebrating an anniversary. The corps was founded 70 years ago in 1956. Other corps across the district have disbanded. Katie Robertson McElvain said that happened because the number of activities for the girls have increased exponentially. She played bugle for the Scotties' final corps in 2003. "I think the interest waned because of girls being able to do more sports and other things," McElvain said. "It used to be that this was a thing the girls did. If you weren't a cheerleader and you didn't do other things, this was something you could do." Like the other SPS drum and bugle corps, the Lassies also disbanded in 1995. Stant said that the Lassies revival in 2012 is a wonderful outlier that deserves celebration. She and 8 other alumni were part of helping the corps reform. "We handpicked the girls because none of them were born when we disbanded," Stant said. "We taught them how to march, how to do all the moves. There were sheets of music, but no recordings, no video. The activity is taught mostly through tradition. The Kilties' cadences and other pieces are largely unchanged from when they were first performed. But changes happen. Members of the Scotties found out that Monday during their first rehearsal. As McElvain and Root met with others to run through a crisscross formation, drummers found out that the piece had changed over the years. And what follows is a picture of Emily Verdugo, a current Parkview Lassies majorette, leading her squad down the hallways as they practiced their drumline routine. Because the Lassies group had more recent alumni, they quickly stepped in line Monday. Tracy Corvin is not one of those recent alumni. She played a tenor drum during Monday's rehearsal, just like she did before graduating in '86. She felt saddened about the Lassies' end and thrilled with its return, she said. After the rehearsal, which included plenty of the signature bouncing toe-step marching style, she was visibly tired, except for the smile on her face. It's not quite like riding a bike, but close, Corvin said, laughing. I liked this drum because it's loud, and everybody can hear it and feel it. Stant said Friday's program will be the first of its kind, featuring plenty of thrills and support. Alumni regularly return to watch the current corps perform, she said, and show appreciation. They say that it's a sisterhood, and it truly is, Stant said. We all want them to have that same experience that we did, to see them marching again and getting to share with them the same things we loved about this, and to see them get it means so much.
And from the Springfield News Leader, Missouri Treasurer's Office downplayed a student data leak to families. A couple of key points from this: the Missouri State Treasurer's Office unintentionally exposed the personal data of students receiving private school vouchers. Emails show the office initially drafted a statement blaming its software contractor, ClassWallet, for the data leak. And the contractor stated its responsibility ends once data is exported, and the file's property suggests it was handled by a Treasurer's Office employee. Newly released emails show that when the Missouri State Treasurer's Office learned in April that spreadsheets on its website unintentionally exposed the names of students receiving private school vouchers, it downplayed the leak to families and drafted a statement blaming its software contractor. That provider says it is not where the problem started, and the file itself carries markers suggesting it passed through a Treasurer's Office employee's computer before it was published. The data, student names, parents' email addresses, schools, and vendors paid through the program, and each scholarship amount sat on the Treasurer's website in downloadable spreadsheets for months. These reports are required by a 2024 state law that mandates certain demographic information about most scholars' participants be published each year, while ensuring, quote, no personally identifiable information of any student is disclosed. And we see a picture of Missouri State Treasurer Vivek Malik, who was taken when he was testifying before the Missouri Senate Committee back in January of 2024. One file presented the required figures in a table built with Microsoft Excel's pivot table function. The underlying records were reachable from that table in just a few clicks. The Treasurer's Office said in its statement that the vulnerability was, quote, fully resolved immediately upon notification. It took several days to get the file pulled from Internet Archive sites. Emails obtained by the Independent under the Missouri Sunshine Law show the office sent the 7 educational assistance organizations that administer most scholars a draft statement on April 20th, 2 business days after being told about the leak. Those organizations are families' main point of contact with the program. Recently, the contracted application and fiscal management platform confirmed that the underlying data set generated for publication could potentially be manipulated to view unpublished information, the statement began. The Independent alerted the Treasurer's Office the morning of April 16th, minutes before the organization's monthly meeting, and published a story April 21st that did not reveal the specific route to find this information. The next byline reads, a change in providers. At the time of the data leak, the Treasurer's Office used a company called ClassWallet to facilitate payments and track student enrollment with ClassWallet's partner, Fax Management. ClassWallet is the largest software provider in the school choice space, with contracts with the nation's largest voucher programs like Florida and Arizona. The company has drawn scrutiny before, most notably in Arizona, where a permissions error let a parent view payment requests of other users, prompting an investigation by the Arizona Department of Homeland Security. Last year, State Treasurer Vivek Malik talked about letting ClassWallet's contract expire, which eventually happened last month after a competitive bidding process. But Missouri's leak was not inside ClassWallet's interface. It was on the Treasurer's own website. The file downloaded from the Treasurer's website gives the name of the data source, a Microsoft Excel spreadsheet called Most Scholars Distro Amounts, with the sheet labeled, quote, all-time raw data. The path also points to the account of Trent Blair, the Treasurer's Director of Programs. The office, which has said little publicly, has not said whether it created the document. Asked about the data in April, Malik's Chief of Staff Jackson Bailey said the spreadsheet was compiled by the third-party application and fiscal management platform that houses and maintains the data and is contractually obligated to provide expenditure information for publication. ClassWallet spokesperson Jason Hart said the platform provides, quote, complete unredacted exports of the data to the client for use at their discretion. How that data is then handled, shared, or reflected in any public-facing report, he added, is a determination made solely by the client. Nothing in the contract requires that the downloadable reports be ready for public posting, Hart said. The contract, signed in 2022, prior to the law requiring certain annual reports, has two parts: the request for proposals from the state and ClassWallet's offer. ClassWallet's response characterizes the data's purpose as compliance monitoring and preparing for the audit. The request for proposals has few requirements for the data, though it notes that confidential information should be encrypted. Quote, "We have a number of privacy measures in place designed to protect student information within the platform," Hart said. However, once data is exported and submitted to the Treasurer's office, it falls outside the scope of our contract. In April, the office entered a contract with edtech company Odyssey after a bidding process led by the Missouri Office of Administration. The bidding process this time around included additional requirements for the software provider, saying it should allow the Moose Scholars Program administrator to create ad hoc reports and provide customizable dashboards and reports, including data updates. The contractor shall use safeguards designed to prevent the inappropriate use or disclosure of the state's proprietary or confidential information, the office request said. The contract's definition of state data includes personally identifiable information, which it says is, quote, any information that identifies an individual, such as an individual's social security number or other government-issued identification number, date of birth, address, telephone number, biometric data, mother's maiden name, email address, credit card information, or an individual's name in combination with any other of the elements listed herein. The office now publishes the reports as PDFs, as most states with similar programs do. Next byline reads, directory information. The statement the organizations were asked to pass along to parents described the exposure as, quote, limited to directory information, which it said United States Department of Education guidance acknowledges is not generally considered harmful or an invasion of privacy if disclosed. The records went further than that. They paired student names with parents' email addresses, and the scholarship amounts carried something more. Students with an individualized education plan qualify for 160% of the base award, so the figure indicates which children have disabilities. Under the Family Education Rights and Privacy Act, schools are allowed to provide student directory information, but there is a requirement that students give notice about what it considers directory information and allow parents to opt out.
From the Springfield Daily Citizen, Canis Dispensary drive-through extension sent to Plans and Policies Committee. The operator of Terabis Dispensary submitted an application for a code change allowing a dispensary drive-thrus to operate until 1:30 a.m. What follows is a picture of Terabis Dispensary located off Kearney Street and Kellett Avenue. A proposed text amendment to Springfield's Land Development Code extending dispensary drive-through hours to 1:30 a.m. was slated for a final vote at the City Council's July 27th meeting, but was instead referred to the government body's Plans and Policies Committee. Put forward by Councilmember Craig Hosmer, the referral narrowly passed in a 5-4 vote, with Council members Jensen, Hardinger, and Carroll, and Mayor Jeff Schrag opposed. The amendment was applied for by V3 Mo Vending 5 LLC, the operator of Terabis Dispensary, which owns a total of 9 dispensaries in Missouri and Illinois, including one Springfield store at 850 East Kearney Street. This would allow us to determine whether this should be limited, should be broadened, and what the impact should be, Hosmer said. But it's sort of, I think, improper when an applicant has the ability to get a bill right in front of council without going through the committee process when I, as an elected member of council, can't do that because my bill has to go through the committee process. The application submitted by V3 Mo Vending 5 LLC is the last of its kind. Approved in 2025 and made effective in April 2026, the new Land Development Code does not allow members of the public to directly apply for text amendments. Because the application was submitted before the new code became effective, it was allowed to move forward. Under your current Land Development Code, an individual applicant can't get a text amendment started like this, Christopher Homan, Chief Litigator for the city, explained to council members. They would have to come to you and ask to introduce it or something like that. But it's kind of a quirk to the old code. V3 Mo Vending 5 LLC originally applied for an amendment to allow dispensary drive-thrus to operate 24/7, but ultimately withdrew the application before it reached the Planning and Zoning Commission and resubmitted it requesting drive-thrus to operate until 1:30 a.m., aligning with laws regulating alcohol sales. While the text amendment was requested by a company with only one dispensary in Springfield, it would apply to any dispensary with a drive-thru. Of Springfield's 9 licensed dispensaries, 6 have drive-thrus. The Planning and Zoning Commission recommended approval of the revised application 5-2. City staff did not take a position on the application. Asked by Mayor Jeff Schrag why he did not think the Planning Commission's consideration and recommendation was insufficient, Hosmer said that it was not their job to create public policy, but the City Council's.
Missouri hospitals are facing a high turnover despite hiring. This is an article written by Emma Harper, and a couple of key points. Missouri hospital vacancy rates have declined, but employee turnover rates have increased, signaling a shift from hiring to retention challenges. Entry-level positions like environmental services and nurse assistants see high turnover, while specialized clinical roles face high vacancies, and rural healthcare programs are investing in pipeline initiatives to combat staff shortages and improve nurse retention in their regions. About 5 years ago, the hospitals were hit hard by the COVID-19 pandemic. Workforce trends appear to be stabilizing. In 2021, overall vacancy rates for hospital positions in Missouri were at 17%, but this rate declined to 10.1% in 2025, according to the Missouri Hospital Association's 2026 workforce report. Despite a lower number of open positions, the number of employee separations remained high, and the employee turnover rate saw an uptick from 22.2% in 2024 to 23.7% in 2025. Jill Williams, MHA's Vice President of Workforce Development, said these findings indicate that hiring has improved, but hospitals are still struggling to retain staff. Quote, workforce challenges are no longer temporary, Williams said. They're no longer a temporary disruption, but more a larger strategic issue that requires long-term investment and collaborative solutions. And next we see a picture. It's a drawing of a hospital worker pushing a patient in a wheelchair. And the caption reads, hiring has improved, but Missouri hospitals still struggle to retain staff in the face of high turnover. And the next byline is reading, turnover rates stay high for entry-level roles. Most of the hospital jobs that saw high turnover were not the same as those with high vacancy rates, though nurse assistants and licensed practical nurses reached the top 10 in both categories. Specialized clinical roles like employed physicians, imaging specialists, and nursing roles saw the highest number of vacancies. These roles, which include MRI and CT technologists, licensed practical nurses, nurse assistants, registered nurses, and surgical technicians, require significant training and professional licenses, making qualified candidates more difficult to find. Conversely, the turnover rate is elevated in roles that serve as entry points into higher-level healthcare jobs or support roles. These positions include nurse assistants, environmental services workers, phlebotomists, and food service workers. The relatively low vacancy rates for these positions, combined with their high turnover rates, points to a lower number of jobs being open at a time, but a lack of long-term hires. However, high turnover for entry-level roles is not a new phenomenon, and Williams said that much of the turnover comes from expected career advancements or changes in path. Quote, as far as turnover, we typically see these entry-level roles, nurse assistant, environmental services, phlebotomist, those typically always hit these top turnover positions, Williams said. Those positions are constantly experiencing wage competition, and they're kind of like a stepping stone for career advancement. People are getting their foot in the door, they're maybe realizing healthcare isn't for them, or they are, and then they're advancing their career, maybe going back to school, getting on the job training, and then advancing up through the healthcare system. Environmental services workers, also referred to as housekeeping or janitorial services, are the staff responsible for cleaning and disinfecting healthcare facilities, including medical equipment and patient rooms. In 2025, environmental services workers saw a 42.5% turnover rate in Missouri hospitals, which may be due to safety or pay factors. These workers face the risk of infectious disease and hazardous chemicals that cleaners in other sectors might not face, according to the Occupational Safety and Health Administration. A healthcare workforce safety report from Press Ganey found that safety plays a role in workforce retention. The State of Healthcare Safety 2026 report found that workers with unfavorable views of workplace safety are 1.74 times more likely to leave, and that 46.6% of respondents rated their workplaces low on overall safety culture. In 2024, janitors and cleaners in the healthcare and social assistance industry had a median wage of $18.35 an hour, or $38,160 annually, according to data from the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics. Janitors and cleaners in 8 other industries had higher median wages in the U.S., including transportation, educational services, and governmental sectors. Rural healthcare programs invest in building pipelines, is the next byline. Regional differences have pointed to a variety of problems across the state, from rural areas facing shortages, while the urban centers of St. Louis and Kansas City struggle with high turnover rates in various roles. The South Central region of the state, which includes Poplar Bluff and West Plains, has seen a large decrease in the nursing turnover rate. For the past 5 years, the region has led the state in turnover rate, seeing rates as high as 40.9% in 2021. In 2025, that number fell to 17.1%, which was lower than the state average. This change signals fewer nurses are leaving their positions in the region. Williams said that Poplar Bluff's Medical Center Nurse Extern program, which launched in 2024, might have something to do with the improved retention. The program allows nursing students in Southeast Missouri to get experience in different nursing specialties, along with one-on-one mentorship. Our Nurse Extern program is more than just an educational opportunity. It's about building a culture that values, mentors, and supports future nurses, said Carla Ryder, Poplar Bluff Regional Medical Center Chief Nursing Officer, in a 2024 news release. With this program, we aim to increase nurse retention at PBRMC, increasing continuity of care and stability within our hospital and community. Williams said in the report that rural healthcare programs' investments in pipeline capacity building systems could increase the number of rural healthcare workers. These investments come as Missouri struggles with a shortage of physicians and an aging population that will require more care. The report found that Missouri has demand for approximately 1,000 physicians, including 600 primary care physicians and 160 psychiatrists. Many of these shortages fall in rural areas. Of the 40 geographic areas in Missouri that have a designated health professional shortage area, only 6 are classified as non-rural, according to data from the Health Resources and Service Administration. As workforce shortages persist, Williams said hospitals are beginning to redesign care teams. These restructured workforces can include EMTs and paramedics working in emergency departments and medical assistants taking on more clinical responsibility. These changes go beyond the hospital, as some hospitals are using community health workers to help patients navigate social factors contributing to their health, and care coordinators to manage transitions of care. Artificial intelligence technology use grows in hospitals is the next byline. Technology also plays a role as hospitals work to accommodate ongoing shortages and try to reduce their employee separations. Virtual nurses play a support role to bedside teams, and AI-enabled documentation tools, scheduling systems, and telehealth are playing growing roles in hospitals, according to Williams. As this AI and technology continues to come out, I feel like that's going to be really an emerging component of long-term sustainability, and to upskill the workforce in these new skills that technology will demand, and kind of using technology as a way to increase efficiencies, Williams said. Maybe employees working in new and different roles, or care teams or care models working in different ways than they have in the past. A report from the Office of the National Coordinator for Health Information Technology found that in 2024, 71% of hospitals integrated predictive AI into their electronic health records, which are digital versions of patient paper charts. Predictive AI is defined as using statistical analysis and machine learning to classify or produce a risk score for individuals, according to the AI Hospital Trends report. The use of predictive AI to simplify billing, facilitate scheduling, and identify high-risk outpatients to inform care increased by a wide margin from 2023 to 2024. Of hospitals that used predictive AI in 2024, 92% used it to predict health trajectories or risks for inpatients, the same percentage as the year before. Quote, I think Missouri's healthcare workforce continues to experience significant pressures, but there are clear signs of transformation and progress, Williams said. I think hospitals are increasingly trying to find ways to address workforce challenges through a more comprehensive strategy. So something that recognizes kind of that interconnected nature of workforce pipelines through employee experience, leadership development, creating a safe workplace, and then those operational innovations through AI and technology.
From the Springfield Daily Citizen, Steve Pokin columns, Answer Man. What was building on Main Avenue used for before it became Hotel of Terror? The building that houses Hotel of Terror will be demolished to replace the Main Avenue Bridge. Before becoming Springfield's front destination, the building served many purposes. And what follows is a picture of the building at Main and Mill and because readers want to know what it was used for before it became so terrifying. And Answer Man says, the building on Main that will be demolished was not always the Hotel of Terror. What was it before? I understand that area was very different when the Frisco Railroad Depot was nearby. The question was asked by Lonnie Boulding of Logan. This October will be the final season for the Fright of the Hotel of Terror, located at 334 North Main Avenue. In May, the city reached an agreement with the owner, Sterling Mathis, to buy the property for about $2 million. The building must be demolished so the Main Avenue Bridge can be replaced, according to the city. The bridge is classified as structurally deficient and is in serious condition. And what follows is a picture of the Hotel of Terror building in the middle of the city, and the city's efforts to uncover and beautify Jordan Creek, and the building will be demolished after October. The Hotel of Terror has been a family fright business for 48 years. At two different times, the building, constructed in 1915, has been a hotel, profiting from what it was once a prime location across Main Avenue from the Frisco Railroad Depot. A plan to make it into an aged men's home for men on pensions, no alcohol allowed, fell through in 1965. Next byline reads, Train Depot opened in 1927 and fell victim to neglect. In 1901, Frisco closed its Commercial Street Depot and instead used the depot at Main and Mill across the street from the Hotel of Terror building. In 1926, Frisco razed the existing depot and opened what many consider an architectural gem. A March 1927 issue of the Frisco Employee magazine described it this way. Spread spaciously over 13,550 square feet of ground, a beautiful Spanish mission style of modern railroad station with porte cochere front and back and snow-white stucco gleaming in the Missouri sunlight. Mathis tells me people would come from all over the train depot and stay at the hotel. This was back in the horse and buggy days. And what follows is a picture of the Hotel and Terror building in the middle of the city's efforts to uncover and beautify the Jordan Creek. The last train left the depot in December of 1967, and the depot remained vacant and fell into disrepair. The railroad tore down the once magnificent structure on March 5, 1977. Many local preservationists consider it the city's greatest failure in preserving its history. The first hotel, as far as I can tell by tracking newspaper archives, was called the Plaza Hotel. The first mention of it I found was in 1930. It was for sale, according to a newspaper ad, in 1932. In 1936, it was still the Plaza Hotel, but by 1940, it had become the Texas Hotel. The next byline reads, at one time there was a bar next door and a building propped up over the culvert. The Texas Hotel was sold in May of 1947, according to a news story in the Springfield News Leader. Mr. and Mrs. O.L. Gray here have sold the Hotel Texas, 406 North Main Street, to Glenn Cope and Mrs. Selma Parks for $11,000. Over the years, the same building was assigned to a new address, which often happens over decades. It went from 406 North Main to the current 334 North Main Avenue. At one point, there was a building immediately to the south that was a bar called The Depot, according to John Sellers, Deputy Answerman and Executive Director Emeritus of the History Museum on the Square. And what follows is a picture of the Hotel of Terror on North Main Avenue. It's a close-up picture. Pillars and the U-shaped metal hooks can still be seen in the culvert. It's what remains of the infrastructure that propped the bar up over the Jordan Creek culvert. In 2016, I wrote an Answerman column about the location where the bar was. I was at the News Leader at the time. Next byline reads, it almost became a residence home for older men on pensions. The Texas Hotel was sold in 1957. The building was purchased by Harold T. Lincoln Jr. and Jerome C. Handley from Mrs. Georgia A. McLaughlin for about $16,000. It was scheduled to be sold again for $30,000 to $40,000 in 1965 to Calvary Mission Incorporated Under the direction of the Reverend Earl McFarland, the 24 rooms on the top 2 floors of the 3-story building would be used to house what was described as old age prison pensioners, men only. An ad in the paper said no alcohol would be allowed in the building. And what follows is a picture of a mural painted outside of the Hotel of Terror building. But a month later, the sale fell through due to lack of funds. Ronald Durr, a Springfield contractor who died in 2023, bought the building in 1986. His daughter, Melissa Harmon, tells me that the building had not been used as a hotel for many years when her parents bought it. Nevertheless, she says people still referred to it as the Texas Hotel building. Next byline reads, she recalls that her mom had a business on the 1st floor. Harmon remembers that her mother had an office on the 1st floor. Her business was placing people in jobs. Her dad used much of the space as storage for his contracting business. The rooms on the 2nd and 3rd floor were never leased or rented while her family owned the building, she says. Her father sold the building to Johnny Mathis, the father of Sterling Mathis, in 1995, according to public records. And what follows is a picture of the up-close look at the Hotel of Terror. Harmon tells me that the Mathis family was paying on a lease-to-own schedule, and there was an agreement that could host the Hotel of Terror in October, even before the sale was final. This is Answer Man column number 182.
From the Springfield Daily Citizen, a woman sues Greene County Sheriff, deputies alleging K9 Rocky attacked her. The suit alleges that deputies came to the woman's house without a warrant, searching for someone who wasn't there. She alleges the deputies entered her home without consent and released the K9. She alleges she was severely injured in the attack. And we see a picture of K9 Rocky, a beautiful brown and black German Shepherd or a Belgian Malinois. Perhaps you'll find that out in the article. A Springfield woman who claims she was injured when Greene County Sheriff's Office K9 Officer Rocky attacked and bit her in the 2024 filed a civil rights and personal injury lawsuit last week against 4 deputies and Sheriff Jim Arnott. According to the petition filed in federal court on July 23rd, the plaintiff, Markiana Jones, was an, quote, uninvolved resident inside a home at which officers were seeking someone who was not there. The person officers were looking for is identified in the suit as MM. Jones was not the person sought by law enforcement, was not suspected of any crime, posed no threat to any officer or member of the public, and had not been warned that an unaccompanied police canine would be released into the residence, the petition states in part. The suit alleges the officers lacked reliable confirmation that MM was at the house and that officers were informed by someone standing outside the residence that Jones, who is disabled, was inside. The canine bit and tore plaintiff's left leg, left wrist, left hand, and lower extremity, causing open wounds, severe pain, swelling, permanent scarring, nerve pain, emotional distress, anxiety, sleep disruption, and other non-economic harms, the petition alleges. Arnott was not present when the incident occurred, but he is being sued in his official capacity as sheriff. Other co-defendants include deputies T. Marshall, T. Mitchell, Sergeant P. Rippey, and Corporal J. Reno, and it does note here that the petition does not disclose their first names. The next byline, suit officers didn't have a warrant. The suit alleges that on June 25, 2024, defendants Marshall, Rippey, Reno, and Mitchell responded to a residence in Springfield in an attempt to locate MM, who allegedly had a Christian County warrant for violating an order of protection. The suit alleges the officers didn't have a search warrant or an arrest warrant that authorized entry into the residence of a third party without valid consent or exigent circumstances. The private home is owned by RJ, according to the petition, and occupied by family members, including Jones and 2 others identified by their initials, JJ and JLJ. According to the suit, the officers encountered JJ and JLJ outside the home. According to the incident report, JLJ allegedly stated that he did not know whether MM was inside the residence, and JJ allegedly stated that he had not seen MM that day and didn't know whether MM was inside, the suit states. Jones' lawsuit alleges the incident report, quote, materially omits or misstates important facts, including that JLJ told the officers that his disabled niece, Jones, was inside the home and that JLJ was on the phone with someone who had heard this conversation. Despite the lack of a warrant, the lack of reliable confirmation that MM was present, and the warning that a disabled resident was inside, defendants caused or permitted entry into the residence and the release of police service dog Rocky inside the home. The suit states, Jones was in her bedroom, lying across her bed, listening to music through headphones, and was unaware that law enforcement had released a police canine into the residence. Next byline, Jones suffered injuries to leg, wrist, and hand. The lawsuit alleges Jones did not threaten, resist, flee, or commit any crime. The suit alleges that K9 Rocky entered her room unaccompanied or inadequately controlled and attacked her, biting her left leg, left knee area, left wrist, and left hand. According to the suit, Jones screamed and attempted to protect herself. In doing so, she sustained additional injuries to her hand. She required medical treatment and sustained pain, disability, disfigurement, scarring, emotional distress, anxiety, sleep disruption, humiliation, loss of enjoyment of life, and other non-economic damages, the suit alleges. Jones' known medical condition and related vulnerabilities made the needless canine attack especially traumatic and harmful, the suit states. In part, defendants' actions were unreasonable, reckless, deliberately indifferent, and in conscious disregard of Jones' clearly established constitutional rights and bodily integrity. At all relevant times, Defendant Arnott was responsible for the policies, customs, practices, training, supervision, discipline, and oversight of Greene County Sheriff's Office deputies and canine operations, the petition states. The byline, attorney, nothing about this case should be read as, quote, anti-police. Jones' attorney, Abe McGull, declined to comment about any disputed evidence or, quote, making any statements that could materially prejudice the proceedings. We will not try this case in the media, McGull said in an email. The case now belongs in the court system where the facts can be tested fairly and all parties can be heard. Asked why it was important to file the suit, McGull responded in part, my experience as both a federal and state prosecutor taught me the importance of lawful police work, officer safety, and public trust. It also taught me that constitutional safeguards are essential to effective law enforcement, particularly when powerful tools such as police canines are used in occupied homes where innocent residents may be present, McGull said. Quote, the purpose of the case is to seek accountability, promote careful constitutional policing, and allow a court and jury to determine the facts under the rule of law. McGull said he would not speculate on whether there might be others in the community who have had similar experiences with canine officers and law enforcement. And what follows is a portrait of Mr. McGull in a suit and tie. We're focused on the facts alleged in Ms. Jones' case, he wrote in the email. At the same time, this case raises important public interest questions about policies, training, supervision, canine warnings, canine control, and the protection of uninvolved occupants during residential law enforcement operations. This case is about basic public values, the sanctity of the home, the safety of uninvolved residents, and the need for law enforcement practices that respect constitutional limits while protecting the community, McGull wrote. I've spent significant parts of my career supporting legitimate law enforcement as a prosecutor, and nothing about this case should be read as anti-police. To the contrary, public confidence is strengthened when law enforcement power is exercised lawfully, carefully, and with appropriate safeguards. We respect the judicial process and we intend to present the case in court rather than through public statements. For now, we ask the public to read the complaint, understand that the allegations must be proven, and allow the legal process to proceed fairly. Citing the ongoing status of the case, the public information officer for the Greene County Sheriff's Office declined to comment. The suit has 7 counts. Count 1 of the suit alleges unreasonable entry and search in violation of the Fourth Amendment against Marshall, Rippey, Reno, and Mitchell. Count 2 alleges excessive force and unreasonable seizure in violation of the Fourth Amendment against Marshall, Rippey, Reno, and Mitchell. Count 3 alleges failure to intervene against Marshall, Rippey, Reno, and Mitchell. And Count 4 alleges failure to train, failure to supervise, and failure to discipline against Arnott in his official capacity as sheriff. And what follows is a 2024 file photo of Greene County Sheriff Jim Arnott. Count 5 alleges a violation of Jones' 14th Amendment, due process, and bodily integrity against the 4, and Count 6 alleges negligence against Missouri law against Marshall, Rippey, Reno, and Mitchell as well. Count 7 alleges negligent training, supervision, retention, and discipline under Missouri law against Arnott.
From the Springfield Daily Citizen, a Springfield man badly burned in the fire in Sparta bonfire in April dies. Thousands have been following news of Gabriel McDaniel's recovery via Facebook post by his employer, Ozarks Refuse. He took his own life on July 27th, and what follows is a photo from GoFundMe that has a headline, Support Aubrey and Gabe's Healing Journey. Gabe McDaniel and Aubrey Dye were seriously injured in a bonfire incident on April 19th. Gabriel Joseph McDaniel, one of the people who were seriously burned at a bonfire in Sparta in April, died by suicide on Monday, July 27th. He was 27. Thousands throughout the Ozarks for months have offered prayers and encouragement as they tracked McDaniel's recovery, as well as that of Aubrey Louise Dye, who was also seriously burned at the same bonfire. McDaniel and Dye had been dating. Thousands of people followed the couple's recuperation through Facebook posts by Ozarks Refuse, a trash service company where McDaniel worked. McDaniel had returned to work at Ozarks Refuse part-time earlier this month, according to an Ozarks Refuse Facebook post. On July 28th, the company announced McDaniel had died, stating, "Yesterday we lost a very valuable crew member and a very valuable dear friend. Gabe McDaniel passed away at the age of 27. Many of you know Gabe had just come back to work part-time after recovering from severe burns he sustained outside of work. He was thrilled to be back working and was feeling so much better physically. Gabe was a good guy, a great trash man, and a veteran of the United States Army. He will be missed." This is a story is about a young man who died by suicide. If you or someone you know is struggling, reach out to the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline by dialing or texting 988. Burrell Behavioral Health's 24-hour crisis line is available at 1-800-494-7355. A Springfield Police Incident Report dated July 27th states officers went to the Springfield residence where McDaniel lived in response to a suicide on Monday afternoon. And what follows is a picture of Ian Letterman, a photo from the Christian County Jail. McDaniel and Dye were burned at a private bonfire in the early morning hours of April 19th when someone poured gasoline on the blaze. Dye sustained life-threatening injuries but survived. In May, Christian County prosecutors charged via grand jury Ian T. Letterman, born in 1995, with assault in the second degree, a Class D felony punishable by up to 7 years in prison or up to a $10,000 fine or both. Letterman was released on July 7th on his own recognizance, meaning he did not have to post a bond. His next court date is August 25th. Next byline was, "Dye was more badly burned." Dye suffered more serious burns than McDaniel. The company posted a photo of her on July 21st with information that the post said came from Dye's sister. 10 surgeries, 65 days in the hospital, 28 days in physical rehab, 93 days since she has been home. But tomorrow Aubrey comes home. Another milestone up this huge mountain she has faced to climb. Please pray, send good vibes for her mental health. Please pray for all of those affected by another transition. We love you and are proud of you, sister. Next byline reads, "Several people were at the bonfire. Dye and McDaniel were injured between 4 a.m. and 5 a.m. in the 400 block of Sundance Drive in Sparta, which is where Letterman lives in Christian County. There were 4 or 5 people at the bonfire when people were burned, according to Jarrett Matheny, chief of the Ozark Fire Protection District, who was interviewed by the Springfield Daily Citizen in April. There was a group of friends at the bonfire and someone poured some gasoline on it, he said. As a result of the injuries, the company also set up a GoFundMe account for them with a goal of $40,000. That post said, "This young couple is so full of joy and positivity. Both have smiles and attitudes that could light up a room. They started dating nearly a year ago and have been inseparable since. Both love camping and spending time outdoors, so they couldn't wait for spring and summer to arrive so they could enjoy each other's company while hiking and camping around the Missouri Ozarks." Gabe is a trash collector in the Springfield, Missouri. Customers on his trash route constantly email and call his bosses, complimenting his friendly nature and hard work ethic. The GoFundMe post said that Aubrey works with adults with cerebral palsy. Daniel needed skin grafts on his arms and legs, according to an April 21st Facebook post by the company. "We just got word from our employee Gabe Joseph that he is out of surgery. He is in a lot of pain after the skin grafts to his hands and legs, but he is staying positive and wanted to give a big thumbs up to everyone." Next byline reads, "Civil action says suspect poured gasoline onto an active fire." The Springfield Daily Citizen reached out to Dye for comment for this story, and a woman who answered the phone said Dye wanted to maintain her privacy and declined to comment on Dye's behalf. The Citizen also made an attempt to reach McDaniel's father for comment on his son's life. There was no response. The owner of Ozarks Refuse did not respond to a request for comment. On May 5th, Dye's lawyer filed a verified petition to perpetuate testimony before action. The document indicates Dye plans to pursue a personal injury civil lawsuit, and her attorney wants to depose witnesses while memories are fresh. The petition alleges that Letterman poured gasoline onto an active fire, causing a sudden flare-up and serious bodily injuries.
And a couple of quick articles here from the Springfield News Leader. First off, Springfield CU wins funding to replace aging electric equipment. City utilities will receive $3 million in state funding to replace aging electric infrastructure in Springfield, an investment aimed at reducing outages and improving reliability across the utility system. The grant from the Missouri Department of Natural Resources will help replace older utility poles and transformers, according to a community announcement. City utilities will contribute a required local match of $1,473,900, bringing the total project investment to $4,473,900. The utility plans to begin work next year, replacing 135 utility poles and transformers across Springfield. Officials said in the announcement that areas with a higher frequency of outages will receive priority. Over the next 4 years, the project is expected to replace about 531 utility poles and transformers. City utilities said in the announcement that replacing aging equipment before it fails can reduce the likelihood of unexpected service interruptions. Older utility poles are more vulnerable to damage during high wind events, while newer transformers can be repaired more quickly when problems occur, according to the announcement. Proactively replacing aging infrastructure is not only more reliable, but it's also more cost-effective, Dwayne Folk, President CEO of City Utilities, said in the announcement. This grant allows us to continue to deliver strong value for the essential services that power our community every day. The next byline, project adds to other reliability investments. The state-funded project comes in addition to nearly $10 million that City Utilities has budgeted for tree trimming and pole replacement during fiscal year 2026. The combined investments are intended to strengthen the electric system while supporting reliability and safety efforts throughout Springfield, according to the announcement. And Guns N' Hoses basketball game is going to be returning with support for local youth. The annual Guns N' Hoses basketball game will bring members of the Springfield Police Department and Springfield Fire Department together July 31st to raise money for Big Brothers Big Sisters at the Ozarks. The game is scheduled for Springfield Catholic High School, 2340 Southeast Gate Avenue, Springfield, according to a community announcement. Doors opening at 6, tip-off set for 6:30, and tickets cost $5, admission free for children 12 and under. Tickets are available online at the Springfield Police Department, at the Springfield Fire Department, and at the door. Big Brothers Big Sisters of the Ozarks will benefit from proceeds generated by the event. The annual matchup is presented by the Fraternal Order of the Eagles. And the next byline, community competition supports mentoring programs. In addition to competing on the court, the Springfield Police Department and Springfield Fire Department are also competing to sell the most tickets. Each ticket purchase will help support the mission of Big Brothers Big Sisters of the Ozarks by connecting local youth with volunteer mentors, according to the announcement.
And from the Springfield Daily Citizen, Missouri State Athletics annual Sneaker Soiree fundraiser turns 40. Here's how it all started. Great Southern Bank Arena to host the latest edition of the auction on Saturday, August 1st. What follows is a picture of a sneaker at the Sneaker Soiree auction on August 2nd, 2025. Shortly after he was given the reins to Missouri State's athletic department in 1982, then MSU athletic director Bill Rowe was tasked with a major fundraising push. Rowe, the former Bears baseball coach who was also previously worked as an MSU business manager, started to lean into his experience with the latter as the school made the pivot to the NCAA Division I. He remembers picking the brain of the late John Oldham, Western Kentucky's athletic director, who regaled Rowe with details about the Hilltoppers' annual athletic fundraiser that came from a popular meat auction. They were selling and auctioning beef and hog to raise money back then, Rowe recalled. You always have to create ways to generate income, and back then there was no interest, so everything was word of mouth. Up in Omaha, Creighton was raising athletic funds with an annual sit-down dinner, but Rowe wanted something a little livelier. Wichita State had an auction with a spectrum of items. In 1986, Rowe and his cohorts would piece together through enough ideas before cultivating the inaugural Southwest Missouri State All Sports Auction, which would later change to Missouri State Auction benefiting athletics. On Saturday at Great Southern Bank Arena, the event, now known as the Sneaker Soiree, a change in recent years, Rose said to give it some pizzazz, hits the 40-year mark. And what follows is a picture of the Sneaker Soiree auction on August 2nd, 2025. While a wide array of live and silent auction items will be up for grabs, everything from vacations, memorabilia, fan experiences, and the 2-year lease of a 2027 Kia Seltos subcompact SUV. Ticket purchasing patrons can enjoy food and drinks from several vendors, as well as live interviews with some of MSU's most prominent coaches and staff members. The guests with the most stunning shoes, think of the most famous Met Gala, but decorative athletic footwear to stay true to its Sneaker Soiree title, will be recognized by a panel of judges. Rowe, 86, retired from his AD post in 2009, but still offers a helping hand. He dubs the event as a combination of fundraising and friend-raising as an annual precursor to the athletic season. I don't think it's unreasonable to think we've grossed more than $4 million in money for MSU athletics since its inception, Rose said. Longtime area media figure and Lady Bears play-by-play announcer Tom Ladd has been a regular attendee and has emceed previous events. I just like the people, just seeing all the fans there, Ladd said. It kicks off the whole sports season. In its first few years, the event mostly featured donated household goods, pet supplies, haircut vouchers, and clothing. Every little bit helped. I remember when one of the shoe businesses on the plaza went out of business and we got about 50 pairs of women's shoes, Pro recalled. Our media room turned into a shoe trying room full of people. In 1988, Rose said longtime MSU athletics supporter Thompson Sales Company donated a Pontiac Grand Am. Ladd says he remembers livestock being auctioned off in previous years, and when local auctioneer Billy Long before his run at politics and current position as ambassador to Iceland, was on the mic for an event in the 1990s. It's just a really fun event, said Ladd, who watched a fundraiser take place in the Hammond Student Center and Springfield Convention Center over years. Now with the artwork on the shoes, the more wild the design, the better. Byline reads, "If you go." And then there's another picture of the Sneaker Soiree auction on August 2nd, 2025. Presented by event sponsor and prominent MSU athletics supporter OMB Bank, the 40th annual Sneaker Soiree begins Saturday, August 1st, 2026 at 5:30 p.m. at Great Southern Bank Arena. General admission is $35 in advance and $40 at the door. Admission includes complimentary food and beverages and opportunities to interact with Missouri State coaches, administrators, and student athletes. Bidding for most auction categories will take place in person during the event, but the featured category will be available exclusively through online bidding, which opened July 24th.
And from the Springfield News Leader, Ozark Empire Fair offers quieter, sensory-friendly hours on August 3rd. The Ozark Empire Fair, which is opening tomorrow, Thursday, July 30th at the fairgrounds at 3001 North Grand Avenue in Springfield, will offer a sensory-friendly experience from 1 to 3 on Monday, August 3rd, giving individuals of all ages and abilities an opportunity to enjoy the fair in a quieter environment. The event is scheduled to reduce potentially overwhelming sights and sounds, according to a community announcement. Fair organizers and Wade shows will limit several sensory triggers during the designated hours to create a more comfortable experience for guests who may have special sensory needs. Visitors can ride attractions in the Family Carnival without flashing lights or music, and public address announcements will be paused during the event period. Organizers also said in the announcement that the earlier time slot is expected to draw smaller crowds than later hours. Guests who need a break during the event can use indoor spaces at the Wilson Logistics Arena, which offers air conditioning, seating, and restrooms. The East Hall of the E-Plex will also be available as a quieter indoor option featuring life and arts displays. And what follows is a picture from the Ozark Empire Fair of one of their rides. I'm not sure which one that is, but it looks it looks like a lot of fun. It looks like some kind of a Ferris wheel that goes really fast. Admission and tickets, no advance registration is required to participate in the sensory-friendly hours. The event coincides with the fair's $3 day promotion. Admission $3 per person, parking $3 per vehicle, and several food items will be available for $3. Carnival rides will cost $3 per ride. Tax may still apply to some purchases according to the announcement. Guests may pay admission at Gate 1, 3, 5, or Gate 10 upon arrival. And what to bring. Organizers encourage attendees who are sensitive to noise to consider bringing noise-canceling headphones, as some sounds may still be present despite efforts to reduce sensory stimulation. Guests are also encouraged to prepare for summer weather by wearing sunscreen and a hat. Stay hydrated. Water fountains are available in the E-Plex and the Wilson Logistics Arena. And additional information about the fair, which runs through August 8th, is available at OzarkEmpireFair.com. And one other quick story here from the news leader. Temple Grandin will be speaking at Nixa Performing Arts Center. World-renowned animal behavior expert and autism advocate Temple Grandin will speak at Nixa Public Schools Atos Center for the Performing Arts April 22nd, 2027. The public event scheduled for 7 o'clock at Meridian Title Performance Hall, 514 South Nicholas Road in Nixa, according to a community announcement. And tickets for the presentation will go on sale to the public at 10 a.m. on July 29th. Admission is $35 per ticket. Grandin is a professor of animal sciences at Colorado State University, travels extensively to speak with audiences across the United States. According to the announcement, Grandin's written more than a dozen best-selling books and was the subject of the Emmy Award-winning HBO film Temple Grandin, which starred Claire Danes.
From the Springfield Daily Citizen, she's a fighter. Inside Hillcrest guard Serenity Johnson's return to basketball following May vehicle crash. All conference guard underwent back surgery and hopes to be ready for November practices. And what follows is a picture of Hillcrest High School guard Serenity Johnson dribbling past Kickapoo defender Anaya Doig on Monday, December 29th, 2025 at the O'Reilly Center in Springfield. As the wail of an ambulance faded from the debris-ridden scene of a North Springfield vehicle collision, so too did Hillcrest guard Serenity Johnson's hopes of playing her senior season, or so she thought. Johnson, a passenger who Springfield police say absorbed much of the two-car May 5th crash at the intersection of Kearney Street and National Avenue, would undergo surgery for her crushed vertebrae. It's been a painstaking rehabilitation process for the All-Ozark Mountain Conference talent, but her father, an assistant Hillcrest coach, Alvin Johnson, said Serenity is ahead of schedule. He's thankful she wasn't paralyzed, or worse. We're just blessed, Alvin said. When she first got in the accident, we found out that she needed back surgery. The initial thought was like, I wasn't thinking about basketball. I was thinking, well, I'm just glad that she's alive. Serenity has since worked her way back to the court where she can shoot, albeit gingerly. She is still trained to limit movement, no bending, lifting, or twisting, but aims to be in playing shape in time for November practices. And what follows is a picture of Hillcrest senior Serenity Johnson walking with a back brace following her May 5th vehicle crash. I really just want to get back to playing basketball, Serenity said. Be better than I was before and definitely stronger. She's been familiar with physical therapy, also having suffered a torn ACL in middle school. There's no quit in her, Alvin said. She's a grinder. She knows it's hard work, especially with this being her second major injury that she's ever had. I think tearing her ACL her 8th grade year really helped with her mental strength during this recovery process. After a successful surgery, it took Serenity less than a month to get back on her feet. By late May, she was already asking if she could run. By early June, she was walking 2 miles a day, which she says has helped her work through the overwhelming stress of the rehab. By early August, she expects to be doing things she couldn't have imagined in the days following the crash. Springfield police noted in a May 5th incident report that Serenity was the passenger in a northbound vehicle that reportedly failed to navigate a traffic light and was struck by a westbound vehicle. And what follows is a picture of the car that Serenity Johnson was reportedly a passenger on the left side of the vehicle and during the May 5th crash. It's definitely easy right now until I get the back brace off. But after that, I'm definitely going to be working out every day, she said. Serenity is still receiving recruiting interest from multiple small colleges and recently received an offer from NAIA Heston College in Kansas. Serenity said her teammate, fellow class of 2027 Hillcrest Hoop standout Lily Moore, has been a big help. Moore is there all the time asking me if I'm good or if I want to come up to Hillcrest and work out with her, she said. Serenity said she is slated to have her back brace removed on July 28th. Alvin says her determination to make it back for the season says everything you need to know about his daughter's fortitude. She's a fighter, he said. When things get rough, she's stubborn. She's very dedicated to giving back and helping her teammates. She's very involved and very tenacious.
Council okays Andy's new headquarter project despite multiple attempted changes. And a couple of key points here. Springfield City Council approved a 25-year abatement for Andy's Frozen Custard to build a new headquarters campus. The project expected to create 16 new jobs, retain 54 existing positions. Several council members unsuccessfully proposed amendments to add local labor goals and explore a downtown location for the headquarters. The final development plan passed with a 7-2 vote, despite Councilman Brandon Jensen criticizing the scale of the public subsidy. Andy's Frozen Custard is cleared to build a new headquarters campus in Northeast Springfield with tax breaks on a portion of the property for 25 years. Springfield City Council approved an incentive package for the development project on Monday, July 27th, after several proposals for changes failed to gain support from a majority of council. The Springfield-based company asked council to approve the issuance of $32 million in Chapter 100 industrial development revenue bonds to build a new campus and expand beyond its current corporate headquarters downtown. This will mean the city will take ownership of the project temporarily, allowing Andy's to use the city's tax-exempt status to partially abate property taxes on the improvements for the length of the 25-year agreement. The abatement will be incremental, with 90% abated on the improved value in the first 10 years, gradually stepping down to 50% abated in the last 5 years. Director of Economic Vitality Amanda Olenson said because of this tiered system, over the course of the abatement overall, the project will see roughly 70% of taxes on improvements abated. And what follows is a picture of Andy's Frozen Custard. This is their store located on National Avenue. The request was made to make way for the construction of more than 43,000 square feet of office space spread among 3 buildings and a 9,600 square foot industrial warehouse, all on a 10-acre plot of land on the northeast corner of LeCompte Road and Division Street. The construction is expected to take place in 2 phases. In tandem with the property tax abatement, Andy's also requested a one-time sales and use tax exemption for what is estimated to be $11.6 million in construction materials. An earlier presentation by city staff indicated Andy's anticipated only 5% of purchases to take place within Springfield, but 50% of them inside the state of Missouri. The overall industrial development project passed on a 7-2 vote with Councilman Brandon Jensen and Bruce Adib-Yazid in opposition. Both had proposed changes to the package earlier that ultimately failed to garner support. The agreement approved Monday also included a performance agreement with a series of requirements Andy's will have to meet or risk reducing or losing the incentives completely. The next byline, attempt to add guardrails, explore downtown as option. Adib-Yazid proposed an amendment that would require the general contractor to solicit bids from local subcontractors and encourage a goal of 50% local labor participation for the construction. He explained the measure as a tactic used in other municipalities and said this would allow the city to better track on-site workers by their home zip code, instead of where the company they work for is headquartered. Gathering that data, Adib-Yazid said, would illustrate that these types of projects also create local construction jobs. Councilwoman Heather Hardinger said the approaching tracking construction workers would be more apt as a wider council policy than applying that requirement to this particular project. The amendment failed in a 4-5 vote, with council members Horton, Hosmer, Jensen, and Adib-Yazid in support. Jensen proposed to postpone the agenda item altogether to give city staff time to explore, work on an incentive proposal that could keep Andy's headquarters downtown. During the earlier public hearing, Andy's president, Andy Kuntz, said the business was unlikely to consider a downtown campus-style development, or according to previous news leader reporting. Jensen said it was hypocritical of council to set goals of reinvesting in and supporting businesses downtown, yet provide subsidies to move companies away from the city core. And what follows is the red brick Andy's headquarter building, which is located on East Water Street in Springfield, the current headquarters. On Monday night, Olinson said that a downtown option was discussed earlier in the incentive stage, but that the area lacked the contiguous available land needed for the campus-style footprint Andes wanted. According to city documents, over the course of the total 25 years, more than $3.7 million in real and personal property taxes are projected to be abated. Without the project, total real and personal property taxes on the site in that period would generate nearly $99,000 if the land remains undeveloped and designated as residential. During the incremental abatement period, local taxing jurisdictions would in total still receive more than $1.5 million in payments in lieu of taxes across both phases. These projections assume tax rates remain stagnant throughout that time period. Jensen criticized the project for the expected outcomes not matching the level of investment asked of the city and compared them to other successful uses of Chapter 100, such as Kraft Heinz and Forbes Bazaars. He noted that while the growth of Andes was great to see, the scale of abatement meant tax money was not going to the city, school district, and state to support critical community needs that are already tight on resources. Andes' nearly 400% growth over the past decade is an incredible testament to the business acumen of Mr. Koontz and the overwhelming support of Springfield to grow our own, Jensen said. It doesn't, however, sound like a company that can't afford to pay its own property taxes as every other business is expected to do. Jensen was the only one to vote in support of the postponement. Several council members said it was not up to council to determine where business is located, though Jensen countered that this was more than a real estate dealing and government subsidies required council to seek maximum public benefit for the community. Quote, I love downtown Springfield. I don't know why anyone would not want to have their business in downtown Springfield, Mayor Jeff Schrag said, but who am I to micromanage someone else's business? And who am I to come in at the last minute with a public policy change? As the item moved forward, Jensen proposed an amendment that would ensure no individual building construction would receive tax abatement of more than 50% for more than 10 years. The city's Economic Development Incentives Policy Manual indicates that Chapter 100 tax exemptions will typically be granted at 50% for 10 years. The investment would be required to create 16 new full-time jobs, though according to city documents also retain 54 existing headquarters jobs. The 16 new jobs would have an annual starting wage of $94,766. Using the projected property taxes abated, each of these new jobs would cost $275,600 in public dollars to create. While a performance agreement included in the incentive package requires jobs included in the annual compliance report pay an average wage of at least 150% of the average Greene County wage, it also notes that positions could be excluded from the report if inclusion of them would reduce the average wage below that requirement. While the project has been referred to as competitive, Jensen also noted that but for analysis had been completed that would show the project was not possibly without tax abatement, and that previously Koontz had indicated that Andes did not have site control, proposed cost, or proposed incentive package from any other community. Olinson said Andes had indicated they were talking to other municipalities in Missouri, and keeping headquarters in Springfield was not guaranteed without the incentive. Andes has owned the Lottie division in LeCompte since 2022 and currently does not own the space they occupy downtown. But like most economic development nowadays, we are engaging in a race to the bottom in terms of incentives and giving away tax dollars that fund really critical needs that we have here in the city. And we don't even have another competitor at the starting line, Jensen said. Quote, so I'm asking if you plan to vote against this amendment and approve an incentive package that is well above and far longer than what our manual tells us we should approve. Can somebody please outline the overriding and extraordinary public benefit that you find in this project? This amendment to limit abatement of individual buildings too failed in a 3-6 vote, with 3 of the council members voting in support. Incentive policy in need of changes. Any substantial changes to the agreement would have required council to vote on the package at its next meeting 2 weeks later, which city staff indicated would negatively impact the project as it was, quote, competitive. Aziz Yazdi said that he received multiple calls regarding his planned amendment, all largely worried about the delay a change would cause. If we've been working on it so long, what's 2 more weeks now? And I couldn't get a good answer about that. At a previous meeting, council had also raised concerns about being involved late, when conversations between city staff and Andes had been ongoing for months. Council members expressed a desire to adjust policies to ensure the elected body was a part of the process earlier on, in hopes of avoiding last-minute changes for future proposals. Councilman Abe McGull Said city staff needed thresholds to know when to involve council. Quote, I mean, at this stage, I would think as a business person, I wouldn't want to have all of a sudden all these different amendments adjusting things, he said. I'm about to spend $32 million or more in this community and just have this all change? I mean, it's kind of disruptive. Ollinson said that it is always the goal of staff to negotiate a deal that would be supported, so looking at ways to bring proposals to council earlier explored.
And from the Springfield Daily Citizen, Mexican Villa celebrates 75 years of serving Springfield-style Mexican food. Mexican Villa, Springfield's first such restaurant, celebrates 75 years in business this year. It is not authentic Mexican, but it is authentic Springfield. And what follows is a picture of Garen Ferguson posing in front of a jukebox in the original Mexican Villa location on South National. He is the third-generation owner. One family, 3 generations, 75 years of serving Springfield-style Mexican food. Welcome to Mexican Villa, a local legend. The Springfield staple will celebrate its 75th anniversary in September. We are 100% uniquely Springfield, said owner Garen Ferguson. We are not authentic Mexican or Tex-Mex or California style. You can't get this in Dallas, Denver, or San Antonio. We're unique to Springfield, much like cashew chicken. And the byline reads, Mexican Villa lands in Springfield after World War II. And a photo shows a black and white photo of founders Betty and Garrison Ferguson hanging out at the original Mexican Villa. Garen tasted Mexican food during his time in the Army in Texas. Ferguson is named after his grandfather, Garen Ferguson, who started the restaurant in 1951 after returning from World War II. During his time in the Army, Garen was stationed in San Antonio and fell in love with Mexican food. What he created was inspired by Mexican food to fit an Ozarks palate, said Ferguson. Today, there are 7 locations with 6 in Springfield and 1 in Ozark. 4 are full service and 3 are counter service restaurants. They grind 2 tons of Iowa corn each week to produce their own tortillas and chips at a factory on West Division Street. The restaurant also has a line of its signature sauces, sweet, mild, and hot, which is sold in 120 stores in several states and ships nationwide. Ferguson said the restaurant has even shipped the sauces overseas because international students will come to Springfield and get a taste of the sauce and order it when they go back to their home country. Mexican Villa's mild sauce was developed as a burrito sauce. The sweet sauce goes into tacos. Back in the day, customers started dipping chips into the sauces, and the sauces alone developed a following. These sauces are not traditional salsas, but are recipes that were developed more than 70 years ago. Next byline reads, Springfield gets its first, now oldest, Mexican restaurant. And a photo that follows is the building that houses the original Mexican Villa, which was built in the 1920s as a restaurant, and it closed during the Great Depression and then became a barbecue joint until Garen Ferguson bought it in 1951. And there's a photo of the mural on the building. The original location is on South National and was built in 1928 as a restaurant. This was before the Ferguson family ever owned it. It closed during the Great Depression and then reopened as several versions of a barbecue joint. In 1951, his grandpa opened it as Pig and Bun. He was a foodie of the 50s, Ferguson said. Grandpa started dabbling in Mexican food and adding items to the menu. In 1954, he moved to where Jim's Steakhouse is today on Glenstone Avenue because the area was being developed and he followed the development. He opened Old Mexico, which was Springfield's first takeout restaurant. In the meantime, he leased his National Avenue building to an Italian place. But his move was too soon and he closed that location. So when the owner of Italian Villa vacated in 1962, Garen was frugal and decided that he could salvage the villa part of the sign. He called the sign company and changed Italian to Mexican, and Mexican Villa was born. One of his buddies from Texas moved to Springfield to teach them how to make Mexican food, and they adapted the recipes for local tastes. The following year, El Taco opened on Kearney as the company's second location. During all of this, Garen opposed a crop dusting business. He bought a surplus fleet of planes from the government and turned them into crop dusters. He had 12 planes and 9 pilots and worked all the way down in Tunica, Mississippi. That business kept the restaurant afloat for years because it wasn't profitable. Back home, his wife Betty ran the restaurant, was the cook, baked pies, and raised 4 kids. Betty was instrumental in the success, Ferguson said. She could get it done. He also remembered his grandmother as gentle and kind. As the restaurant expanded, their children pitched in and eventually became the 2nd generation of owners. Next byline reads, a 3rd generation takes over. And another picture that follows is the interior of the original restaurant, which still has wood paneling, jukeboxes, and photos that showcases a long history. Ferguson started working at the restaurant when he was 10. At 14, he was bussing tables. And as a teen, he and a buddy would mow the lawns of the restaurant and get to eat lunch and dinner for free. When you own one of Springfield's most famous restaurants, everyone asks you to bring chips and keys out at every party, and that began when he was a kid and continues today. Ferguson got a business degree, then, like his grandfather and father, enlisted in the military. He joined the Navy and was deployed for the Iraq Freedom, but also helped with aid relief after the 2004 Asian tsunami. Ferguson returned to Springfield and worked in the bank, but was drawn to the restaurant. He wasn't used to a desk job, he said, and he longed for the chaos that restaurants bring. In 2012, he bought out the 2nd generation of Fergusons who owned the Mexican Villa and took over. His dad still owns a quarter of the business. Just as he worked in the restaurant growing up, Ferguson has 14-year-old twins who help with catering. Although Springfield wasn't ready for Mexican food in the 1950s, the city hungers for it now. He's added menu items to reflect it, such as quesadillas, build-your-own bowls, and chimichangas. But even though they have added some items, they stay true to original recipes and are not trying to be something they are not, Ferguson said. Mexican Villa isn't just a tradition, it's a big employer in the Springfield region. They employ 180 people and have many decades of service to the restaurant, which is highly unusual in the industry, Ferguson said. That is something else unique about Mexican Villa. They know their customers, and customers know the staff. It's part of the fabric of Springfield now, Ferguson said. He's proud of what his family has built and plans to have a celebration in September to celebrate the restaurant's 75th anniversary, but said he hasn't finalized the date and details yet. After 75 years of signature success, Ferguson has decided to launch a modern salsa, something more commonly found at Mexican restaurants. They developed a product he's proud of, and it will be released soon. Exact date to be determined. I know we lose some new customers because they come here expecting salsa, he said. Soon, they will get it. The byline reads, embrace us for who we are. And it has a picture of a burrito enchilada style sign as one of the restaurant's signature dishes, and the sign is on the parking lot on South National. Recently, a gentleman came into the original building on National Avenue and looked around. Ferguson initially thought he was a new customer because the man was taking it all in. He said, it hasn't changed much, Ferguson said. He graduated in 1984 from Southwest Missouri State University, now Missouri State, and hadn't been back. When I think of how much this world has changed, there are very few places you can go back to and have the same experience. There's still the jukebox, colorful bills, original wood paneling, and black and white photos of the founders, Garen and Betty Ferguson, on the wall. Sometimes people new to the area come in thinking this is authentic Mexican and complain that it's not. But Ferguson says that it's not what the restaurant is about. We are a tradition and we are 100% authentic Springfield Mexican food, he said. Embrace us for who we are.
Indeed. Well, President Trump says he'll honor heroic lifeguard who saved a boy in Santa Cruz. President Donald Trump said this week that he'll be honoring the 16-year-old lifeguard who saved a boy from drowning in California over the weekend. The rescue at Seabright Beach in Santa Cruz, about 72 miles from San Francisco, was captured on video and has been widely circulated on social media. Footage shows the lifeguard holding on to the boy even as the two repeatedly get battered by waves that keep pulling them back into the surf. The teenager was also shown struggling to rescue the 10-year-old. Bystanders were also seen attempting to help the two as they kept getting sucked back into the water. Eventually, the lifeguard was able to pull the boy safely to shore. The rescue deserves the country's highest honor, Trump said on Tuesday, July 28th. And what follows is a picture of the lifeguard rescuing the young boy after he became caught in the rough surf. This picture was captured, obviously, by a witness to the event. The next byline reads, what did President Trump say? Quote, we're going to bring this heroic young man and his family into the White House with perhaps the boy he saved to give him a high civilian honor. Trump said July 28th, very brave. He deserves it. Scott Vander Dessen, a local photographer, told KDVU that the ocean conditions were calm before the rescue. When the wave crashed, it left a white foam, and I could see a black dot, which was his head getting pulled out, he said, describing the child in the water. Vander Dessen said it was the most intense rescue he's ever witnessed, adding that he wants the footage to serve as a warning to people about ocean safety. This video right here is an opportunity to showcase just how quickly things can turn, how incredibly brave and selfless the lifeguard team is. The White House did not provide additional details about the visit when contacted by USA Today on July 28th. And you might ask, what is a high civilian honor? A high civilian honor is a prestigious, non-military award that the government gives to recognize individuals for their exceptional lifetime achievements, cultural contributions, or exemplary service to society. It's unclear what high civilian honor Trump might bestow upon the lifeguard, but here are the possibilities. The Presidential Medal of Freedom, which is bestowed by the president, it's the U.S. government's highest civilian honor, often presented to individuals to recognize a lifetime of significant achievements in the arts, public service, science, or other fields. The Congressional Gold Medal, like the Medal of Freedom, is considered the highest civilian honor. However, it is bestowed by the U.S. Congress to express public gratitude for distinguished contributions, highlight the virtues of patriotism, and perpetuate the remembrance of great events. And the Presidential Citizen Medal, which was created by former President Richard M. Nixon in 1969. The medal is considered the second highest civilian award, and it recognizes citizens of the United States of America who have performed exemplary deeds of service for their country or their fellow citizens.
From the Springfield Daily Citizen, developer plans 190-acre mixed-use Nixa project with adventure park. A developer interested in creating a massive commercial, residential, and recreational hub in South Nixa shared the concept with the public at a Nixa City Council meeting July 14th. And what follows is a picture, like a rendering, for a planned development in Nixa, including a 29-acre adventure park with zip lines, pump tracks, and other amenities centered around a detention pond. At a July 14th Nixa City Council meeting, a developer presented a concept for a 190-acre project in South Nixa that would include several types of housing, highway-facing businesses, pedestrian infrastructure, and a 22-acre adventure park. Curtis Peterson, representing the development from the Nixa Land Holdings, LLC, said the build would be a generational project for Nixa, creating new amenities for residents and attracting visitors from outside the community. Overall, over time, it's a massive statement inside the city's tax base, from both a sales tax and from a property tax perspective, Peterson said. The site under construction is on the west side of Highway 160, just south of Route 14, abutting the Forest Park subdivision. Nixa Land Holdings LLC acquired the property in November 2025, according to records from the Christian County Assessor's Office. Nixa Land Holdings LLC was created in July 2025, according to Missouri State Secretary of State records. Nixa City Council did not take action on the proposal on July 14th. Gerard Giddens said this project has been discussed for some time. It's been very exhausting to see the whole process go out, Giddens said. It's also been very unique to get so many people in the community involved in helping this. The byline reads, concepts includes diverse housing, indoor, outdoor, adventure park. What follows is a picture of a rendering of the houses in green space from Nixa Landing Holdings LLC presentation. The planned development would feature a variety of housing. Single housing would span about 1/3 of the project's total footprint, according to information presented on July 14th. An illustration of the proposed land that indicates the development would also include multifamily apartments, manor houses, and missing middle and senior bus housing. About 14% of the land would be developed for commercial use, which could include restaurants and grocery stores. And follows is a picture of the proposed 190-acre development that could someday be built in Nixa. It's a picture that has like a map of Nixa. Walkable amenities are central to the concept. A network of sidewalks and trails would connect buses to businesses and green space throughout the development. We think about housing the community, the best way to do that, but we do believe it is walkability, said Scott Layton, representing the developer's land planning firm. The 22 acres at the southern tip of the property would be an adventure park featuring zip lines, bike trails, and water attractions. An indoor facility of around 60,000 square feet will include rope courses, climbing, and entertainment features. Next byline reads, over $33 million in public infrastructure. And follows is a picture of the planned development that would include a mix of walkable retail, commercial lots, single-family residence, and multi-level buildings. The on-site public infrastructure for the project, including streets and senior sewer lines, is estimated to cost around $33 million, according to the information presented on July 14th. In addition, the developer would need to complete off-site improvements, including a signalized section at Highway 130 and Pembroke Avenue. This site includes several sinkholes, large areas of corn and corrosion, and stockpiles of trash and debris, according to information processed during the meeting. The current state of the land is daunting public infrastructure on site and off site required to make this project is a reality. If that's a compelling vision, we want to see how can we figure out how to make it happen, Layton said. Next byline says, how would the project be funded? There's a beautiful picture, a view of the property of Nixa Land Holdings LLC proposed the land purchase for development. Nixa Land Holdings LLC has identified 4 funding mechanisms that can help make the concept a reality. A tax increment financing, a community improvement district CDI, a transportation development district TDI, and Chapter 100 industrial development revenue bonds. With tax increment facing revenue from new sales and property taxes generated by the project over time would be used to reimburse the developer for infrastructure and other development costs, Peter explained. A CID and a TDO would both add an extra sales tax of 1%. 1% on taxable charges within the development. The Chapter 100 Industrial Development Revenue Board, with processes differs from the traditional bonds issued by companies or governments. It allows a municipality to extend its tax-exempt status to a development project and grant tax exemptions and abatements to the developer. Peterson is a shareholder at the Kansas City-based from Palcinelli, which Andy's Frozen Custard hired to lead to Chapter 100 process for a new headquarters in Springfield. Next byline reads, all the risk is on the developer. During the presentation to Nixa City Council, Peterson said, from his perspective, the number one biggest misconception members of the project may have about The funding methods the developer is considering is that the incentives are a giveaway from the city. Nothing that's being requested of part of those tools exists today, he said. It has to be created. It has to be created by somebody that goes out and takes huge construction loans and brings retailers and tenants and causes cash registers to go and causes people to move into the housing. And the parks have to be created. And all that has to happen before any of these tools are effectuated. According to Peterson, all the risk is on the developer for the project. If the project moves closer to appeal, he said, it will begin recruiting businesses and tenants. We don't doubt for a second that they will come, he said. They want to be there. We just can't do that right now in terms of space.
And we are broadcasting live from the Blind Community Thrift Store in Springfield, Missouri at 2713 North Kansas Expressway. You will find amazing deals. The center is, thrift store is open 9 to 6, Monday through Saturday. Veterans get a 25% discount every day. Wednesdays, 50% off all clothing. And seniors, 55 and older, 25% discount on Tuesdays. Springfield drive-through dispensary request has been sent to a committee for a review. A couple of key points here. Springfield City Council is reviewing a proposal to extend marijuana drive-through hours to 1:30 a.m. The request is submitted by the operator of the Terabis Dispensary on East Kearney Street, and the city's Planning and Zoning Commission had previously recommended approval of the extended hours. Springfield elected leaders pumped the brakes on a measure that would have allowed marijuana dispensaries that offer drive-through service to stay open into the early morning. After a proposal to extend cannabis drive-through hours to 1:30 a.m. was brought forth by a dispensary operator, Springfield City Council on Monday, July 27th, referred the measure to a committee for further review. Under current city rules, marijuana facilities can only be open between 6 a.m. and 10 p.m. V3 Mo Vending, LLC, which operates Terabis Dispensary at 850 East Kearney Street, submitted the request to amend city code to allow drive-through operations through 1:30 a.m., matching the limit applied to retail liquor sales under state law. The applicant had worked with city staff and Springfield Police Department to come up with this proposal. Previously, a representative of the dispensary stated that the extended hours made sense for both commercial reasons and to establish consistent regulations for what they believe are comparable businesses. And what follows is a picture of the Terabis marijuana dispensary over at 850 East Kearney. While the topic was in front of council Monday night for a final vote, it didn't get to that stage. Councilman Craig Hosmer instead made a motion to refer the topic to the council's Plan and Policies Committee to review and determine whether any additional safeguards are necessary on extended drive-through dispensary hours. Quote, it's sort of, I think, improper when an applicant has the ability to get a bill right in front of a council without going through the committee process, when I, as an elected member of council, can't do that because my bill has to go through the committee process, he said. And I'm not against the committee process, but why would you give an applicant that has not been elected by the people more power, more authority than a council member? Terabis representatives could not be reached for comment by publication deadline. Chris Holman, the city's chief litigator, said the ability of private applicants to propose city code tax amendment changes was a holdover from the previous land development code. The new code, which went into effect in April, no longer includes this pathway, he said, meaning instead private developers will have to approach council members to propose any changes the traditional way. Springfield Planning and Zoning Commission recommended approval of the change for drive-through dispensaries in a 5-2 vote in June. There are no statewide regulations regarding hours of operation for marijuana facilities, with those details instead left to municipalities to decide. O'Fallon has so far been the only city in Missouri to change its laws to allow 24/7 drive-through dispensaries, though proposals for extended hours have been under review in Kansas City and St. Louis. The referral to Plans and Policies was approved by council in a 5-4 vote, with council members Brandon Jensen, Heather Hardinger, Callie Carroll, and Mayor Jeff Schrag opposed. The committee process has a tendency to move pieces of legislation slowly, and committees typically meet once a month.
From the Springfield Daily Citizen, former SPS board president Denise Frederick honored as pioneer in education. Frederick, named as a pioneer in education by DESE, has an almost 40-year career of involvement with the district. And it follows as a picture of Denise Frederick, the departing president of the Springfield Board Public Schools of Education, celebrating early Proposition S vote returns with fellow board member Scott Kreis. A former president of the Springfield Public Schools Board of Education has been recognized with an honor from the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education. Denise Frederick was one of 5 people named Monday as a pioneer in education by the state's Education Department. The award is given to teachers, administrators, and others with distinguished careers and contributions to public schools. These individuals have dedicated their careers to ensuring Missouri students receive the highest quality of education possible, said Stacy Price, Interim Commissioner of Education, in a press release. DESE is honored to recognize their commitment and service to a public education. The awards are given Monday at a commemorative luncheon in Osage Beach at the department's 65th annual cooperative conference for school administrators. And what follows is a picture of Denise Frederick, president of the Springfield Public Schools Board of Education, working with SPS Superintendent Granita Lassen to cut souvenir pieces of the ribbon at Twain Elementary School's Safe Gym opening. Frederick has almost 40 years of working in public education. A 1972 graduate of Hillcrest High School, Frederick was a teacher at Kickapoo High School for 11 years, then worked for the district's science curriculum department. During her time as a teacher and administrator with SPS, she was known for a fun-loving attitude accompanying high expectations for students. She was named in 2024 to the SPS Hall of Fame, where in an induction video, she was remembered for wearing a dissected frog costume. It was time for the students to take on that lesson. In addition, she has been named a National Millikan Educator as a Missouri State University Outstanding Alumni. She also worked as an instructor at MSU. She served 4 terms on the Board of Education between 2011 and 2030, 7 of them spent as either president or vice president. She was part of a board that worked for 2 bond issues in 2019 and 2023, together valued at more than $387 million. Money from the bond was used to upgrade Hillcrest High School, build new middle schools for Jarrett, Reed, Pipkin, and Pershing, and several other projects across the district.
And exploration of possible Springfield Soccer Stadium is likely to continue. A couple of key points here. Springfield City Council considering renewing an agreement with the United Soccer League to explore building a downtown soccer stadium. The proposed stadium will be located on a former quarry and landfill site next to Route 66 Stadium. And the new agreement would give USL exclusive rights to the site and have the city cover up to $75,000 in further pre-development costs. The excitement of the FIFA World Cup may have faded, but soccer is still on the minds of Springfield leaders. An agreement that explores the possibility of a dedicated soccer stadium downtown is likely to be renewed for an additional year. In December 2024, Springfield City Council approved an agreement with United Soccer League for a feasibility study to bring men's and women's professional soccer teams to the Queen City next to Route 66 Stadium, formerly Hammonds Field, at 1109 East Trafficway Street. According to its website, USL is the largest professional soccer organization in North America and includes such teams as Phoenix Rising FC and Carolina Ascent FC. The USL is seen as a second-tier league compared to the Majors League Soccer. The initial agreement was set to run for a year and then rolled into an automatic renewal for another year. Now, with the extended period set to expire at the end of 2026, Springfield City Council is set to review a new agreement that would give USL and the city more time to work out the details of a possible stadium project. And what follows is a picture of the nearly 9 acres of city-owned property right next to Route 66 Stadium on Trafficway that is being studied for this possible development. During this due diligence period, geotechnical investigations and site surveys confirmed that the property is suitable for construction and capable of accommodating a venue of this scale, city documents stated. Quote, however, the site's history as a former quarry and landfill requires additional analysis and planning before specific site configurations can be evaluated. The city had owned the lot at 1109 East Trafficway since mid-2001. While ideas for redevelopment plans were considered, nothing beyond a green space park known as the Commons at Jordan Valley ever came to fruition. The quarry continues to exude methane gas from decaying, diseased elm trees that were buried there in the 1970s, and monitoring wells and collection system remain in place as they did when the park was constructed in 2010. In past decisions, the city opted for less ambitious plans for the property, both due to a lack of funding and the rapid settling of the land, according to previous news leader reporting. A preliminary geotechnical study completed prior to the initial agreement with USL noted that the poor soil conditions and relatively shallow groundwater levels would require additional work to ensure a stadium structure complies with the International Building Code. And the next byline reads, well, what does the new agreement entail? Well, not much has changed from the initial agreement signed nearly 2 years ago. The agreement would still provide USL exclusivity rights for a soccer venue for the former quarry site that would include 5,000 seats, but have the option to expand to 10,000 seats. And the letter spells out a real estate development that may incorporate a variety of uses, including multifamily housing, retail and restaurants, green space, and entertainment uses. The project envisions a multipurpose entertainment district anchored by the stadium. Paired with the amended letter of intent is the termination of the cost-share agreement the city and USL signed in 2024. The agreement had dictated that the costs of the feasibility study would be evenly split between the two parties. Now, the new letter states any further pre-development studies and further consultant, architect, or engineering fees would be up to the city to cover, though it keeps this cost at a maximum of $75,000. This is the same limit that applied with the cost-share agreement. According to city documents, because this amount was already set aside earlier, no additional funds need to be appropriated at this time. Once again, if approved, the agreement would be in place for a year, but include an optional extension for another 2 6-month terms. Council will hold a first reading and public hearing of the new agreement at its Monday, July 27th meeting. A final vote on the matter anticipated at its following meeting on Monday, August 10th. Council meetings are held every other Monday at 6:30 p.m. at the Springfield Regional Police and Fire Training Center at 2620 West Battlefield Road. The agenda for each meeting can be found on the city's website.
From the Springfield Daily Citizen, Springfield Planned Parenthood begins medication abortions for the first time. Planned Parenthood is expanding access to medication abortions across Missouri as voters will be asked to consider reinstating an abortion ban in the November 2026 abortions. And what follows is a picture of the Planned Parenthood clinic at 626 East Battlefield Road on Wednesday, October 9th, 2024. Planned Parenthood Great Rivers announced Monday, July 27th, that it will begin providing abortions at its Springfield clinic for the first time. Patients up to 12 weeks pregnant are able to access medication abortions by appointment at the Planned Parenthood Springfield Clinic located at 626 East Battlefield Road, according to a July 27th Planned Parenthood Great Rivers PPGR press release. The first appointments will be available July 27th to the 29th, with more appointments available online for future days. Everyone here deserves to have access to abortion care close to home, Dr. Margaret Baum, Chief Medical Officer of PPGR, stated in the press release. Too many people struggle to get off work or save up money to travel, and it impacts their ability to access timely care. That's why it's been a top priority for PPGR to expand access in the Missouri Ozarks. Planned Parenthood's expansion of medication abortions to Springfield follows a mid-June court ruling that struck down many of Missouri's regulations on abortions, according to the press release. Although Missourians in the November 2024 election narrowly voted yes to restoring abortion access across in the state, several regulations that restricted the medical procedure remained in effect. Planned Parenthood began offering procedural abortions at 3 Missouri clinics under preliminary injunction in 2025. Planned Parenthood said that medically unnecessary rules that exclusively target abortion providers kept patients from accessing medication abortions. Jackson County Circuit Judge Jerry Zhang ruled on June 18th that several of these laws were unconstitutional, according to a Missouri Incident Report. Following the ruling, PPGR and affiliate Planned Parenthood Great Plains began offering medication across Missouri for the first time since 2018. Planned Parenthood already offers access to medication and medication abortions at locations in Kansas City, St. Louis, and Columbia, said Casey Dorrant, Comments Director for PPGR. Next byline reads, voters will be asked to repeal abortion access in November. Missouri became the first state to outlaw nearly all abortions in 2022 when the U.S. Supreme Court overturned the constitutional right to abortion, according to a Missouri Independent report. Then Missouri became the first state to overturn an abortion ban through a statewide vote in 2024. Anti-abortion groups were outspent 10 to 1 in 2024, according to the Missouri Independent. The amendment adding abortion access to Missouri's constitution passed with just 52% of the vote. Missourians in the November 2026 election will be asked to consider another abortion ban with limited exceptions. A yes on vote on Amendment 3 would repeal the 2024 voter-approved amendment that enshrined access to abortions in the state constitution. Voters are also asked in the August 4th primary election to consider Amendment 4, which would make it tougher for citizen-led constitutional amendments to pass in Missouri, like the Initiative for Abortion Access passed by Missouri voters in 2024. A yes vote on Amendment 4 would enact a requirement for a majority vote for each of Missouri's 8 congressional districts for future citizen-led constitutional amendments to pass. Missouri's initiative petition process currently requires a simple statewide majority. Planned Parenthood Great Rivers aims to ensure Missourians can realize the reproductive freedom they voted for while removing barriers to timely, evidence-based care for the people in the Missouri Ozarks and beyond. Missourians fighted for the right to reproductive freedom in their home state, and now we're able to bring this essential health care closer to home for hundreds of thousands of people living in the Missouri Ozarks. Margot Repagan, PPGR President, CEO, stated in the press release.
Springfield CU celebrates completion of battery energy storage system. Springfield's electrical grid is a step closer to becoming more reliable during periods of high demand. City utilities celebrated the completion of a zinc battery energy storage system, or BESS, project along US 65 today, Wednesday, July 29th, that will expand the utility's capacity. The system will store electricity during times of low demand, typically overnight when electricity is cheaper, and will provide power during peak hours, usually between 3 p.m. and 7 p.m. in the summer, according to a CU news release. The BESS near CU's Blackman Water Treatment Plant will add 5 megawatts of capacity to CU's system and will be able to dispatch power for up to 6 hours. The storage system consists of zinc-based batteries that are non-flammable, fully recyclable, and made in the United States. According to CU, these batteries are designed to last longer than traditional lithium-ion technology and are considered among the safest forms of grid-scale energy storage available. The battery system is now moving into final commissioning and testing, according to the release, and is expected to be fully operational in August. The Blackman project represents just a portion of CU's larger effort to add more capacity to meet new requirements set by the Southwest Power Pool, a regional transmission organization mandated by the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission. Because of increasing electrical demand, aging infrastructure, and extreme weather, the Planning Reserve Margin, PRM, the utility is required to meet has increased. That's required CU to invest more than $280 million, according to previous news leader reporting. In addition to this battery storage system, CU is constructing a second larger battery system near the former James River Power Station. This second battery system will add 31 megawatts of capacity and is expected to come online later this year. CU, in its efforts to add to its generation capacity, is also installing 3 new natural gas combustion turbines at the McCartney Generating Station in northeast Springfield. In total, these initiatives will add 186 megawatts of new generation capacity, which amounts to an 18% increase for CU locally. As the utility invests in these new power supply resources, CU customers will see an electric rate increase starting next year and phased in over 2 years. According to previous newsletter reporting, the average residential customer will see a 3% average increase in 2027 and an additional 3.6% average increase in 2028. These additional funds will be used to pay for lease financing for the infrastructure updates.
From the Springfield Daily Citizen, White Sox reliever Trevor Richards reflects on journey from undrafted Drury product to MLB veteran. Former South Springfield resident has helped Chicago reach top of AL Central standings. White Sox picture that follows the White Sox pitcher and former Drury standout Trevor Richards interacting with catcher Edgar Quero. Arlington, Texas. A head of hair once speckled in premature grays during Trevor Richards' time at Drury has since turned icy silver. 9 MLB organizations and 9 seasons have a way of accelerating that process. These days, the 33-year-old relief pitcher's strands provide a stark contrast to his jet black Chicago White Sox hat. In his 29 appearances for the American League Central leading club in 2026, Richards has a .380 ERA to go with 43 strikeouts and 12 walks. The self-made hurler who went undrafted out of the NCAA Division II school in Springfield in 2015 before taking the independent league route and working odd jobs has had a curious up and down career. Warming up before a June 20th game at Globe Life Field against the AL West leading Texas Rangers, Richards told the Daily Citizen he's enjoying a happy and fulfilling stage. A year ago in the Arizona Diamondbacks organization, one of his 4 teams in the past 2 seasons, he spent his bulk of his time in AAA, unsure of his future. I thought that it was maybe the end of my career, Richards says. But I have a buddy in the Phillies organization who talked me into going over. He said, if you come over here, I'll get you in the lab, mess around with some things, and see what we can get. It's been fun ever since. Richards was traded to Philadelphia to the White Sox, absorbing his existing $1-year, $1 million contract in late May, and has since been a steady arm in South Chicago. A combination of strength and deceptive mechanics helped capture the attention of MLB scouts coming out of the Miami Marlins farm system, specifically a circle changeup that MLB.com has dubbed among the best in the big leagues. Richards, who made his MLB debut in 2018, has played for the Marlins, Tampa Bay Rays, Milwaukee Brewers, Toronto Blue Jays, Minnesota Twins, Kansas City Royals, Diamondbacks, Phillies, and White Sox organizations. During his time with the Rays, 2019 to 2021, he and his wife, fellow St. Louis area native and Missouri State alum, Auna Richards, lived in South Springfield. It was great. We had a good setup there, he said. Throwing-wise, it was good, too. I worked with former Drury pitcher Ricky Meinhold, a Springfield guy who is now a pitching coach in the Blue Jays organization. And what follows is a picture of Chicago White Sox and Drury standout Trevor Richards appearing in 29 games for the club this season. He still often talks to his former college coach, Scott Nasby, who recently concluded his 14th year with the Panthers. I loved every minute of my time at Drury, said Richards, who helped Drury reach 3 consecutive appearances in the Midwest Regional of the NCAA Division II tournament, national tournament. They are great there. We had a blast and a bunch of good guys. I'm close to Nasby. Talk to him all the time. Richards, who has estimated career earnings of roughly $7.4 million, has a career 4.48 ERA, 659 strikeouts, 262 walks, and a 24-28 record. Despite not being one of the 1,215 players taken through 40 rounds of the 2015 MLB draft, he found a way into the league. It is crazy to think about, and I'll think about it more when I'm done, I'm sure. Right now, it's taking it day by day, enjoying it while I can. He credits his persistence for his longevity. And stupidity, he said with a laugh. The stupidity to keep trying. Joking aside, I keep trying and keep adapting. I hit a rough patch, but I keep competing. I love the game, and the game gives me the outlet for that.
Way to go. And Fisk Transportation is planning a move near 65. Officials say a 22-acre property will include 12,000 square foot vehicle shop on the east side. A 50-year-old business that provides transportation to others is on the move itself in several months as it builds a new multi-million-dollar headquarters roughly 2 miles from its current longtime home. Construction is underway near the East Chestnut Expressway and U.S. Highway 65 interchange for Fisk Transportation. The company owned by J. Howard Fisk and his wife Jan purchased roughly 22 acres last year for an undisclosed price from the Lohmeyer family. The project is at 3601 East Chestnut Expressway, and it's right behind Menards. Fisk Transportation has been around since 1976 as J. Howard Fisk Limousines. Fisk, the company namesake, expressed interest in a business venture that would allow him to stay close to Springfield and work in the automotive field. And there was also a desire with this new location to remain somewhat near the city, specifically Missouri State University, which Barrett Fisk said remains a major client for the family. And we would like to thank you so much for listening today to the Blind Community Thrift Store radio reading service. Hope you'll be sure and tune in every week, Monday through Friday, on the Blind Community Thrift Store's YouTube channel, beginning at 10 a.m. for more up-to-date news from the Springfield News Leader, Springfield Daily Citizen, Springfield Business Journal, and 417 Magazine. And don't forget, we're live on the Audio Reader Network at www.reader.ku.edu. All broadcasts played over KSMU subcarrier airwaves at 67 kilohertz on 91.1 from 3 to 5 p.m. Monday through Friday. Contact Audio Reader Network for information on how you can receive a pre-programmed radio.